The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Monday. It's January 4th. It is a manic Monday, and there's lots of manic activity going on around the soccer world. We'll get into Chelsea's manic managerial situation. It's kind of a mess. We'll figure out who will be at center back for Real Madrid next year, because that's already bubbling up. We'll talk about the growing relationship, which is not really news, not really a big shock, but FC Dallas and Bayern and another Dallas players going over to train, as has been going on for a while now. It's been a great partnership. We'll get into that. We'll get into silly season. We'll get into results from the weekend. We'll get into anything and everything, all of the things. That's what we do on SDH. So if you guys have questions, you can send them in on Twitter at SoccerDownHere. You can send them in via email, soccerdownhere@gmail. You can also join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. I am recovering from my sinuses trying to turn inside out, so if my voice sounds a little weird, if it falters at times, I have a Red Bull that I'm trying to get some energy this morning. I have an Arden's Garden fruit smoothie to get going this morning with the vitamin C, so I am hydrating up. I have taken my medicine for the morning. I will probably take some more later, but I think I can get through a show. I will be doing my best. So we'll get into all of this, but we got to start with Chelsea, John, because Domer is in the Twitch pitch, and Domer is one of our resident Chelsea supporters here in SDH land. And Domer has a very good point that I think has been left out of the discussion quite a bit. Frank just came off of about 17 straight results. Domer says give the man time. People are not saying give the man time in general because it's England, because it's silly season, because I think there's some people who are not big fans of Frank Lampard as well. I do think that factors into it. It has gone south pretty badly, and questions do have to be asked. I don't think the questions are unfair. We will see what kind of activities happen, and you pointed out something in our notes this morning that there is precedent under Roman Abramovich for not giving the man time. He hasn't really been known to give men time very often.
Nope. Looking at the numbers, 26 points, 17 matches, 50.98% of the points available. That is worse, and this is in terms of final seasons, and I give Jonathan Wilson all the credit from The Guardian this morning for doing the math. In terms of final seasons, 50.98% is worse than Andre Villas-Boas, worse than Mourinho II, worse than Conte, worse than Ancelotti, worse than Sarri, worse than Scolari, worse than Di Matteo, worse than Ranieri.
Who is it better than? Anybody? Yeah. And that's after spending a whole lot of money.
Yeah, £220 million.
That's one reason why. Look, that's one of the biggest reasons why there's drama. 4 losses in the last 6, 1 win. That was over West Ham. 3-1 loss to Arsenal that maybe doesn't look as bad as it did at the time, but still doesn't look all that wonderful. 3-1 loss to Manchester City over the weekend, where they looked a little disorganized at times. And that's the one that worries me. You know, we've talked a lot about your Big Sams, your Steve Bruce's, Ole. We've talked a lot about managers. Ole's actually still taking criticism because, I just don't know why people really have it in for the guy. What is the new phrase du jour around the Premier League? Individual moments FC or something, because big players actually perform in big moments, and that's a knock on the manager somehow. Yeah, because Paul Pogba was put on the left just because he said he wanted to, and Ole tried to argue him out of it, but Paul Pogba, took control of the team sheet and the board and made himself be in that position where he was in a free role where he could run it, defend. Yeah, okay. Anyway, teams looking disorganized is a problem. And Frank Lampard's Chelsea too often look disorganized. It's a problem. There's just no way around it. It's a problem. Will it get better? He fixed the defensive issues at one point this season. They were very bad early. He also got a new goalkeeper. That helped a lot. But when you look at least one of the goals they gave up yesterday, there was no structure to deal with the counterattack from City. Zero. Zero, zero, zero. And that's unacceptable against a team like Manchester City. It's unacceptable. They never figured out Manchester City was playing with a false nine, Kevin De Bruyne in the 9 position, dropping into the midfield. That gave Chelsea problems. They never fixed it. They never, handled it in that moment where everything fell apart and they gave up 3 goals in, 15, 16 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a problem. Now, can it be solved? Well, the schedule might help with that because you have an FA Cup game at home that they should win on the weekend. Then you have Fulham. You go to Fulham on the 15th. You should win that. You get a couple of games to right the ship. Then you go to Leicester. And that feels like maybe that one's going to have a little bit extra on it because of the recent results. Then it's Wolves, then it's Burnley, then it's at Tottenham in February 3rd. The Leicester game feels like a big one for Frank Lampard. And it would not have been as big of a deal if Thomas Tuchel wasn't available now. I do think that changes everything. Thomas Tuchel being available instead of Mauricio Pochettino, who would not have gone to Chelsea, changes the conversation for what Roman Abramovich will do. Max Allegri's out there too, and he would kind of fit what we've seen from Roman Abramovich in the past, but his name really hasn't come up. Tuchel would seem to be the one. And I just think everything's changed now, and Lampard does have to feel the pressure. He did talk about it. He did have he said the right things. Talking about the game, he said for 10 minutes we were good. Then they started to play, and we conceded 2 poor goals back-to-back in the game. It knocked us, and we didn't react well. Serious lessons in the first half, good character in the second half, but then the game was done. He said, I'm not concerned about pressure. We can have peaks or troughs. I've just spoken about where we are at. I expected periods of difficulties this year. I said it when we beat Leeds and everyone was championing us to be title contenders. Yeah, I was. I know it doesn't come that easy. I know where we are at. 1 month ago, everyone was asking whether I'd sign a new contract. Now people will be saying different things because in quick succession over a tight, busy period, we've lost 4 games of football. The pressure remains constant in this job, and in tough moments that will be there. I didn't get into this job being unaware of that. My job is to keep working. I agree with all that. He's dead on. He's 100% correct. However, the eye test is not good right now for Chelsea. And there's a difference. Sometimes you can play well and not get results. These comments have a different feel. They're not looking good at times. And they're not looking good at times in things that you would expect Lampard to have better grasp of, better control of. And that's got to change. It's got to get better. Pressure's not going away. It's only going to ramp up. He's got 2 winnable games coming up in the next 2. Take care of that business and right the ship for Leicester, because if that game goes against him, it could be ugly because the knives will be out.
Yeah, you mentioned defense. Obviously, bringing in Mendy, obvious upgrade from Kepa. And then bringing in Thiago Silva, who's been that calming influence at the back. Bringing in Ben Chilwell, obviously, has helped out defensively. But a couple of other things that Wilson had mentioned in the article have to do with Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. Werner's played in 4 different roles this year. And quoting Wilson here, nobody seems to have much idea where Kai Havertz, 10 league starts, 5 different roles may fit. It's perhaps not surprising if both look short of both self-belief and belief in general.
Yeah, and that's another element is those two struggling. It's 2 very expensive players that have not gotten settled. It's another one. Thiago Silva, when asked about what's gone on in recent weeks, he said, no, I don't understand what's wrong. If I understand it before, I think I could have given some advice, but that's how it is. It's football. It's the Premier League, one of the toughest championships around the world. It's a little concerning that you don't know what's breaking down. And Domer had a good point. He said about the eye test, he said that, it looks like a manager is learning on the job. And my question is he learning? Because it's not year 1 anymore. It's not year one of him being a manager anymore. There's got to be more here, and if it's a slip because of the number of games and the tight compression and confidence and lots of different things that could absolutely be playing into it, then you got to get out of the tailspin, and you got to get out of it fairly quickly because the situation has changed now in terms of who is out there. Abramovich didn't ever really seem interested in Allegri, so okay. Tuchel will be gunning for that job. And he will be, and his people will be putting pressure. He wants to work in England. He will be calling up Roman every day. Hey, saw what happened. Hey, I can fix that. Hey, I can do better than that. Hey, my teams have been good defensively. Hey, I got you. That's going to make this more difficult for Frank. So, I mean, is it fair? Probably not. But they are in a position that they are in after a huge spend in the summer that nobody else did. The expectations are higher. And I think they have to be. So can he get close to those? We'll just have to see.
Next, permanent Chelsea manager odds.
Oh, boy.
Courtesy of our friends at Coral and Ladbrokes, and they alternate in this. I'm going to go from 6 to 1 here.
Okay.
Bet with Ladbrokes, 16 to 1, John Terry.
Why would you go that? See, that doesn't make sense logically, because that would be going into an even more risky Lampard-esque hire. John Terry hasn't managed.
Right. Period.
Lampard had experience at Derby. Terry's got assistant manager experience. I think it's even more of a problem. It would just be it'd be doubling down on the same thing. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You didn't spend this much money to learn on the job. And that's maybe the issue with Frank here is they thought the learning on the job was done. You spent a ton of money to win. You got to see results.
Number 5, bet with Coral at 12 to 1, Nuno Espirito Santo.
It'd be interesting if you could pull that one off. I mean, you got the money to do it, but is that the direction you want to go? I wonder why that name's coming up.
Yeah.
It's not a name you would normally just pull out of a hat and throw into the mix like this. Is there something there? Is there history? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know of any history with Nuno and Chelsea. I thought that was an interesting pull. Also at 12 to 1, courtesy of Ladbrokes, Rafa Benitez.
Rafa's still in China at the moment, working. You'd probably have to get him out of his contract. He's making an absurd amount of money in terms of salary. It's not a big deal for Roman to figure out. He's won. I mean, he would come in, and I think he'd be able to fix some of the issues we've been seeing. And, is he a long-term guy? No, I don't think so. I think he would be a guy to come in and get it right and put a couple of years in and then move on. But with what they've spent, that might be the expectation that would work. It's not crazy.
9 to 1, courtesy of Coral, Laurent Blanc.
He's been out there for a while. He's another one that it's kind of like, well, why is no one going down that road with him? Trying to see when he worked last, because it has been a minute. Last job was... Well, no, he was actually just appointed at Al Rayyan. That's what it was. Before that, he'd been at PSG, and he had been out until 2016. So he was just hired at Al Rayyan. That doesn't even make any sense. He's not leaving. He's done. He did that one match. Then
your top two, Tuchel at 3 to 1, courtesy of Ladbrokes, and Max Allegri at 13 to 8 with Coral.
I think Tuchel's the more likely one, because everybody's passed on Allegri, and I just don't know what the issue is. Outside of, if he's just, is it not stylish? Nah, probably not. Is it about winning? Yeah. Did he elevate Juventus' teams, or did he do what everybody else has done at Juve? It's a valid question. Nick has brought that up on Soccer Over There before. Maybe the bloom is not so bright anymore with Max Allegri. I think Tuchel's the better hire. Now, you're going to have to deal with prickly guy. He's probably going to argue with you. He's not going to be easy to deal with, but he's an excellent coach. And if you feel like you have the talent to win, and that's, look, there's a valid question about the roster. Like, it has redundancies in certain positions. It is top heavy in the forwards and the attacking players. There are questions about all that, but if you feel like you've got the talent to be winning the title and you're not, you go get the best coach available, and that's Thomas Tuchel. He is the best trainer out of all of those names, in my opinion. And I think he's the most likely hire if you make a difference.
And courtesy of our friends at Bookmakers, the odds are now adjusted. Frank Lampard is leader in the clubhouse, next manager to leave at 11-10, courtesy of our friends at Betfair.
It's not a shock. I mean, these things are volatile, and people are putting numbers on it to get action. Who did he pass? Who's number 2 on that list?
Chris Wilder at 5-2 at William Hill.
I don't think Wilder's going anywhere. I think they would have already done it if they would have done something. They're going to want him to fix it and get them back up. So, I don't even think that's likely. I think he is the most likely to go at this point. But I think you got a couple of games now to fix things. I am really curious to see if they do anything in January. I mean, we know Abramovich can spend if he wants to. Now, I don't know the financial fair play ramifications of anything at this point. No real understanding of what that's going to look like. But, Domer says that they need to decide on selling either, Callum Hudson-Odoi or Ziyech, both good players, both starters, both great. Sell one before one leaves on a free. Have to be Hudson-Odoi, wouldn't it? Because you just brought in Ziyech. So, okay, do that if you can pull that off. And do you need to go get another defender? Do you need something there? Or do you just need better coaching? And I keep coming back to that because the more I've watched of Chelsea lately, the more I keep coming back to the preparation and the organization. And there's breakdowns in those areas that just shouldn't be there at this point. And I just don't know if they're going to change. I don't think it's a talent thing. We've had the questions about Werner out wide and just all these, and Havertz and where he's going to play. And, you've got a lot of rotation possibilities with your attacking players. That's great, but you haven't really settled. All that's fine. The attack hasn't been the issue. It's been some of the goals you're giving up, and it's the amount of goals you're giving up here lately. And it's just got to be better. And, this isn't like, I think American sports fans at times, if you're in the situation, if you are, American football is a completely different animal in the way you coach it. But if you're a coach and you're in Frank Lampard's situation and you have big expectations and you're a figure at the team and they don't want to get rid of you, but something's got to change. What's the normal thing you do at this stage? You fire a coordinator, right?
Yeah.
You don't have that possibility here. Like, you can't tell Frank to fire one of his assistants and go get somebody who can really improve your defense. You need to improve your defense, and if he can't do it, somebody needs to. But this is an all-or-nothing kind of deal for Frank, and he's got to fix this. And if that means, at least in the short term, maybe you've got to sacrifice one of your attacking players. Maybe you need one more player in that midfield who can do the job defensively. Maybe it's not about playing the superstars at the moment. Maybe you got to get a little more solid in the spine. There's things like that maybe you need to do, and he's got to make those decisions right now because he's got 2 games to work it out. FA Cup and Fulham. 2 games to work that out that he should be able to win. And then you get the Leicester game, and that's where it will ramp back up. If you lose there, I don't know. I don't know if he gets past that.
January targets are looking like, and this is a list from goal.com, Declan Rice from West Ham, although with West Ham competing for top 5, top 6 European football, they don't want to.
Summer, maybe.
Yeah.
Summer, but Domer said you don't need to spend on the 6. You've got Conte, you've got Gilmore. I don't know if that fixes it, Yeah, you'll get another good player, but it's not. For me, it's not so much the talent. It's the structure. It's the organization. It's the way they are playing. That's more on the coaching. And that's more of the issue. I don't know if going to get Declan Rice fixes anything.
And they're also looking at possibly Ben White from Brighton on the short list of defenders. David Alaba, who seems to be on everybody's list.
Looks like Alaba's going elsewhere.
Yeah, and then the exits, possibly Rudiger, Tomori,
They haven't played him.
and trying to get Kepa out the door. And then you mentioned Callum Hudson-Odoi as well, and then Drinkwater and Rockman possibly out on loan.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's not so much the players. It's the coaching. It's the structure. It's how do you want this team to play? What is the game idea? What is the game model? What is the philosophy? I don't know if there truly is one at this point. You might need to do some moves to balance your books. You might need to make some moves to just make things a little more structured in terms of your financials. All that's fine. I don't know if any of that dramatically changes the way you play. It's much more of an issue about the structure of the team as opposed to the talent in the team. I'm going to retweet this from my account. This has been kind of back and forth. I think the English media and most of the English-speaking media has kind of washed this away at this point. The Edinson Cavani suspension. The Uruguayan Football Players Association and Diego Godin retweeted this. It's an official communication from the AFU, the Uruguayan Football Players Association, requesting the FA to immediately overturn the sanction imposed on Edinson Cavani, and it explains everything in the process to this. You have had many from universities in Latin America. You have had many involved in language learning in both Argentina and Uruguay that I've seen, and I know I haven't seen all of it, that have completely blasted this decision by the FA and this suspension, saying it's actually more of a racist issue that the FA did this than anything that Edinson Cavani said, because it is a complete lack of understanding and any attempt to understand cultural differences. So I just retweeted that. It is in Spanish, and there's also an English translation that they released. They released the English translation probably to make sure that it got spread around in the English-speaking media, and it's completely gone quiet on that. I guess people don't see it as a big deal, or maybe they didn't understand the differences again here, but yeah, it's a problem. It actually is starting to get spread by English reporters now. So we will see if there's more of a conversation continues around this. But I just retweeted that at my account at Longshoot, but also it's from Diego Godin, and it's at Diego Godin on Twitter.
A couple of other things real quick on Lampard and Chelsea. Yep. Only Jose Mourinho in his first tour kept his job after not winning a title. And Rich Ransom is in this morning, and he thinks Abramovich won't fire Lampard till the end of the year because of what he did as a Chelsea player. That's why Terry being considered is not as far-fetched.
Yeah, it's completely far-fetched to me, Rich, because the problems are not about him being a former Chelsea player. The problems are the team's not being prepared very well at the moment. At least that's the way it appears. And Roman Abramovich doesn't spend money for sentiment. I mean, that's why I was a little surprised, honestly, that he went to Frank at this point. He doesn't care. He spent a whole lot of money in the summer because I think he felt like they were locked and loaded and ready to go, and they're not, and that's a problem. And he's not going to be accepting of, well, it's a legend coaching, so we'll be okay. It's okay that I spent $200 million, and two of the guys that we spent it on haven't really looked good at all, and we're just not getting enough out of that return. So, no, I think he's going to have a huge issue with it. I don't think they go back to another former player if it doesn't work with Lampard, especially one with less experience. I think he goes with a steady hand. That's just been his MO generally, is he's gone to somebody established. So that's what I'm expecting. But if it doesn't get better in the short term, I think Thomas Tuchel will be the guy before the end of the season if it continues on the path that it's on. We'll just have to wait and see.
I've got some other stuff in Twitter this morning, but let's see.
Well, let's talk about the other side of that game real quick. Manchester City. So, City was missing 6 players. Zach Steffen got his first Premier League start, got his first win. Pep was very happy with the way his team played, said that they were back like they were. He said the Premier League's weird. It's weird for everything. Just have to be focused during the games, but otherwise relax. Hopefully in the Premier League in the last 6-7 games we can be there fighting. And he talked about how they had their rhythm back, and that was a big thing. De Bruyne playing striker, he said it was a little bizarre at the beginning. The coach asked me to do this job, so I tried to do it as best as possible. Yeah, it worked pretty well. One really interesting thing that Pep said, well, one really disappointing thing that Pep said was he was trying to make excuses for players who did not follow COVID protocols with New Year celebrations. And I know Pep wants to defend his players. I do get what he's trying to do. I thoroughly disagree with doing it right now. This is not defending your players after having pictures taken at a restaurant in normal times, or maybe being out a little late the night before a game. This is breaking something that's affecting public health. So come on, Pep. Just don't comment. If you don't want to throw your players under the bus, just don't comment. Just say that's for the authorities, that's for protocols, that's for whatever. That's not my area. Just don't even comment, because you look foolish when you say things like that. And I have a ton of respect for Pep, but you can't defend those actions. He did talk about the way the team's structured, and I thought something that he said was very, very important. We don't have players with the physicality for 40-meter actions and quick transitions. Only Sterling and Kevin. Talking about players who can transition fast, both offense and defense. We have to play with the ball, from the keeper to the striker. Ball has to be on the grass, make 1,000 passes, and attack in the right moment. When we talk about philosophy and structure and all these different things, it's really, really important to understand that. And Pep has a really good understanding of his team. They can't get into foot races. He's had teams in the past, like his Bayern teams. They could run with people. His team right now, they're not a team that's going to be handling transitions well. That's why Liverpool's a tough opponent for them, because Liverpool transitions incredibly well. They have to do things the way that they do it. They have to, 1,000 passes, like he says. They have to keep the ball. Teams that keep the ball, and this has been an ongoing discussion, whether it's Leeds, whether it's City. I'm trying to remember who else they jumped on about this here recently over the weekend. It's like, oh, well, they have to be better defensively. Well, they defend with the ball. Like, the game is not American football where it is the offense and the defense. It's the whole thing. And it's not basketball where you have a shot clock and you're limited. It is a game of transitions. And if you are a team that you play with the ball, as Pep says, because they don't have players who transition well, and they don't have players they want to put in those positions, how do you avoid that? You do one of two things. You sit back and you defend deeper and you only play on the counter, or you keep the ball. Keeping the ball is a form of the way you play. It's a form of keeping the ball from the opponent. There are different ways to handle it, but this idea that, like for Leeds, for example, and I think there was a columnist who wrote about this over the weekend. They have to be tighter defensively. They have to tighten up. Can they improve it? Can Bielsa improve the defense? Well, no, he's not going to improve the defense. Like, that's not the way he's going to play. He's not going to focus on the defense. He's going to focus on the way that they play. The way that they play, they want the ball. Yes, they do want the ball. They also want to defend up high. They don't want to defend close to their goal. They're going to take more chances. They're also scoring a lot of goals. Yes, they're conceding a lot. But are they in a better position than maybe they should be based on their talent? Yes. So there's no complaints here. There shouldn't be. Some teams give up more goals. They trade off to try to score more. And that's what Leeds is doing. Everybody approaches the game differently. You have to approach it based off your squad. And that's what good coaches do. Pep has had teams that have been able to get into those transition moments. I mean, he talked about his difference at Bayern was, that's a German mentality. It's transition. He couldn't have them play like his Barcelona team did, or his Manchester City team is playing now. It wasn't in the players' nature. They wanted to get out and run. They wanted to get out and counter. They wanted to get out and press. That's the way that they play. That's what they like. That's what makes them feel good about the game. Whereas the Spanish, you feel good about having the ball and knocking it around. And the English, the work rate is another element to it. You've got to know your squad. And Pep does. So, and Bielsa does too. And good managers do. So the ones that you're seeing struggle with this is somebody like Big Sam, who is known for being good defensively. And his team is not good defensively. They're very, very poor defensively. And I don't know why he hasn't been able to do that outside of just they don't have any talent. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that simple that nobody could go in and fix that. But it's not as simple as just tighten up on the defense. And that's the same for Chelsea. The question for Chelsea, and I know we keep coming back to it, but it is one of the big topics of the day in the world. The question is, what are they trying to do in their play model? And I don't have an answer. You know, I mean, Pep talks about we're trying to avoid those 40-meter sprint backs. We're trying to avoid those transition moments. We want the ball. We're going to keep the ball. We're going to make a ton of passes. I don't think Chelsea's trying to do that. I don't know what Chelsea's trying to do. I don't know what their ideal match is. And we've seen enough to where we should have a decent idea of that, and we just don't yet. And that's going to have to... It's one of two things. It's either that's going to have to start to evolve where we see what they want to do, or your top players are going to have to play like top players, and you're going to have to just keep it simple and be better than other teams because you have better players. And that can take you pretty far. It's taken Zinedine Zidane pretty far. I mean, he's not a tactical genius. He's not a wizard. He's not reinventing anything. They've had a ton of talent. They've won a bunch of Champions Leagues. But there are limitations to that, too. You do run up against teams that have a better tactical idea. So it's tough. Bernd is right. City, it does help that Gundogan is in the form of his life. Absolutely. He started to... I think Pep has finally started to get things going again at City. That rhythm is a big part of it. With Chelsea, I just don't know what the game model is. I really don't. And I hope that they find it, because I want to see them in this race. I want to see this race with as many teams as possible going down the road. I'd like to see Frank Lampard turn into a good manager. I think it's good when you get those former players that can learn that side of the game and have an impact on that side. I mean, Lampard's a legend at Chelsea. He's a legend in England. You'd love to see him turn into that. He's got to show more, and he's got to show it quick. And we'll see if we get an idea of their identity, because I really don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, the column that you were mentioning about Leeds was from Ian Ladyman over at the second newspaper that we don't necessarily mention.
Which one?
By name. The Daily Mail.
Yes.
And so he says, it's been a wild ride, and it's better, surely, to be ballsy and brassy in the Premier League rather than meek and mild like West Brom this season or Norwich the last. Equally, it'll be fascinating to see if the 65-year-old Bielsa changes anything as he moves through the season. And he goes... No, he won't.
Why are you even asking that?
Yeah.
You're not doing your homework if you ask that question. He's not going to change anything as they go through the season. He made a comment in there at one point about, he pulled two midfielders in one game, so that showed he knew that he did something wrong. Yes, that's called tactics. That's called a game strategy. That's what you do in a game. That doesn't mean he did something wrong in his philosophy and the way he structures the team. It means that game needed something different. Those are two different things. I think sometimes we just oversimplify it. And come on, got to do your homework, man.
Yeah, he says there's a cult-like aura around Bielsa that means critical analysis of him is quickly shot down.
That's not true. That's not even fair. That's creating a false narrative here. No, it's the fact that Bielsa's team and his teams have played consistently, whether it's at Newell's, whether it was at Athletic, whether it was at Marseille, Argentina. His teams have had a consistent game model. He also prepares based off the opponent. He knows what the opponent's going to do. They prepare for everything that can happen in the game. You do get things wrong. The opponent will pull a surprise. A player for the opponent has a great day. You have to adjust in the game to certain things. That doesn't mean you go from being the way they play, which is wanting the ball and on the front foot and pressing and trying to win it back and worried about the position of the players. You don't go away from that and say, we're going to put everybody behind the ball. That's changing your philosophy. There's a difference between changing your tactics and changing your philosophy. When you are a positional play team and style, you're not going to go away from that. That's your DNA. You're not going to go away from that because just parking guys behind the ball is the opposite of a positional play model. It's completely different. And you don't do that. You change the tactics. You change the players. Every player has a different personality. You put one group of players together and say, play like this. You put a different group of players together and you say, play that same way. It's going to look different, right? Because the individual players have their own personalities. Those are things you change. You don't change your whole model of the way you see the game because you gave up a couple goals on the break or one player made a couple mistakes. You don't change everything because of that. Alioski had a bad day for Leeds. He played poorly. Was the whole game model broken and horrible? No, you had a couple individual mistakes that you got punished for. And you played a good team. And I'll go a step further on Tottenham in that game real quick. I have a question. I don't have cool music for it, and I'm not going to dance because I don't feel like it this morning. But I have a question. Are people not giving Harry Kane enough credit? I think Harry Kane is having one of the best seasons in the world, and I think Harry Kane needs to be talked about as one of the best players in the world. He is scoring goals, and he's scoring some penalties. Big whoop. His passing is incredible. His passing as a number 9 is incredible. And the year that Harry Kane is having, and look, I mean, you're getting to a point where people are like, is Tottenham too reliant on Harry Kane and Son? Which is crazy. You want that. It's a good thing. But that helps, sure. But Harry Kane is leading the league in assists, and he's in the top 4, I think, in goals. And this is not like a recent development. He's been doing this for a little while. I think he's showing he's one of the best players in the world, and I don't think he gets talked about like that, and it's not fair. He should be.
Absolutely, because, I mean, when you see him, just the relationship that he has with Son at times with the passing that goes from Kane to Son to spring him, and so Sonny can put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, you sit there and you look at it, and what was the word that was used? Telepathic?
Yes.
And it is. Mm-hmm. It's a thing of beauty to watch. And I don't think that Harry Kane is being given enough talk. I don't think he's, because of everything I was about to say, not given enough credit for his assist work in as much as his goal scoring this year. It's when you see the two of them together, it really is a beautiful thing to see when it does come to the fore like that.
Yeah, it's just so impressive this year. I mean, SofaScore has him as the highest rated player in the league alongside Jack Grealish. 10 goals in 16 games, 11 assists, creating 1.5 chances a game, and he's creating big chances. It's not like he's creating like small chances from deeper passes. He's creating big chances for teams. He's had one of the best seasons that I've seen in a while. I knew that Katie Weaver would get excited about that.
Yes.
Harry Kane is a boss. His vision, strength on the ball, his finishing. It's the passing that has won me over. Like, we were talking about this on the Discord while I was peeking in a couple times over the weekend as I was trying not to cough my brains out. I posted a highlight reel of a player from Argentina, Pulga Rodriguez, who is just known for golazos. And, he's kind of an old school number 10, and Gustavo came in and said, no, he's a number 9. He and Harry Kane, and there's a few others in the world, are really a 9.5. And you see a few players who are able to be 9s who score goals, but can create for others around them. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's something, and Katie brings up Joseph Martinez's name. It's not really something we saw in year 1 or year 2 of Joseph, but we did see it in 2019 in a big way. And I will always think of a couple of goals where he had just combination 1-2s with Pity Martinez down the field. He's got that kind of game in him. And we'll see how his role changes with Gabriel Heinze. But he's got that ability to do more than just score goals. And Harry Kane's one to watch. And GH brings this up on the Twitch pitch, and it's a good point. When we had Jackson Conway on and he talked about Harry Kane being his role model, I'm like, that's a good role model for you, my friend. Mm-hmm. Because that's an element of the striker's game that does get left to the side at times. And it's something that we started to see from Jackson Conway last year with the 2s. Not just looking to be on the end of everything, but having no problem creating for others as well. It's a big, big element. So it's something that I hope Harry Kane starts to get more attention. We talk Lewandowski, we talk Messi, we talk Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, De Bruyne. Those are usually the ones that get mentioned as the best players in the world. Not Harry Kane. He's 27. He's in the prime of his career. He's a Golden Boot winner at a World Cup. What more does the guy have to do?
Yeah.
If he leads the Premier League in goals and assists this season,
that's crazy.
Forget it. Incredible player. I love the work he has put in to become more and more of a complete, well-rounded player.
And Chris Hutchison is in on the Twitter side of things, hopping on the Kane train, saying Son and Kane are making it rain.
Yes, they are. That is true. Let's bounce around the rest of England real quick before we get into the rest of the world and everything else that happened over the weekend. Manchester United, 2-1 win over Villa. Everybody's looking forward to January 17th, where it is Manchester United and Liverpool. United's unbeaten in 10 league matches. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing everything to keep the heat off of the team because he knows how this stuff goes. They are a title contender. There's no way around it now. They're legit, and they're playing really, really well. Be curious to see how it continues. Be curious to see if he can continue it as you get into the Europa League for them, if that pulls attention away. But they're even right now, same number of games, same number of points with Liverpool. Liverpool's got a better goal differential. Leicester's 1 point back. They've played one more game. Tottenham's 4 points back. They've played the same number of games. City's played one less game, and they're 4 points back. It's going to be a race, and Manchester United is 100% in that, and Ole's doing a very, very good job. It's not just individual moments FC, in my opinion.
Tyrone Mings is a dirty player. I just wanted to put that out there after the elbow that he gave to Pogba, and obviously he escaped any kind of discipline in the match itself. But this is not the first time that something like this has happened. A lot of folks may remember him stomping on Zlatan, and that wasn't the last time that this has happened. But this is just the next episode for me where Tyrone Mings is just he's dirty. He's a dirty.
Yeah, there's just too much that has happened with him that you do have to wonder about it, because the pop to Pogba. I mean, the commentary consistently said, well, he didn't throw the elbow, so he didn't do anything wrong. Well, he jumped into him with the elbow out. I mean, you didn't throw it, but you used your body to launch yourself using the elbow as the point into the guy's jaw. Mm-hmm. That's a red. That's a red and a penalty. And it didn't happen. And it should be a red and a penalty. And if referees aren't going to call that a red and a penalty, well, then you're going to have more players get hurt. It's just cheap. And it's not the first time. I mean, he's had 2 stomping incidents on players on their head while they're on the ground. Zlatan, who then got revenge with a horrendous elbow. And a player from Reading, who, I mean, go look at what happened to his face because of Tyrone Mings. It's just cheap. It's just cheap, and it's happened too many times for it to be an accident.
Yeah, that was the other thing that stuck out to me as I was watching that match. Is just it happened again. It's not the first time. I think it was Oliveira with Reading. I
believe that's right.
So, but yeah, it was just another episode in Tyrone Mings as being cheap.
Leicester 2-1 win at Newcastle. Newcastle's horrible. Steve Bruce, man, come on. You're going to be a defensive manager, and you're going to have your team defensive, and your whole job is to keep them up. I get it, but man, you look disorganized, and that's where bad coaching. The goals they give up are bad. They don't look organized. They don't look like they're well coached. They have more talent to do more than they're doing. If all he's trying to do is keep them up, then you can't have defensive displays like that. I mean, it's just poor. They got a goal late. Yeah, it got a little shaky at the end, but they were not in that game. It's just very, very frustrating. They're very, very bad. I'm sorry, Alex Bassine. I apologize. I'm not going to spend much time on it. It's very, very bad. Very, very bad.
Here's what he said after the match.
Oh, see, I wasn't going to spend much time on it, Alex. This is on John.
Quote, I don't think we deserve to lose today.
What? Hold on. What?
Shut up!
You got to be kidding me. He said that.
I don't...
He really said that. That came out of his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't think they deserved to lose.
But we have to improve our final pass. We have to hold on to the ball better. We gave it away too cheaply and too often. That little bit of quality in the final third was missing. It's the hardest part of the game.
I think what he did is he flipped to page 241 of the coaching cliche manual and just picked something and said it. They didn't look that good. They just didn't. They just didn't. It's poor. It's very, very frustrating because they could be more. Like West Brom is West Brom. They're bad. Bad team. You bring in a manager to try to rescue it. I make fun of Big Sam a lot. I don't like his style. I don't like what he does as a manager, but I understood why they did what they did. But they're a bad team. Newcastle does not have the level of talent as a West Brom. They play just as badly, and that's unacceptable. And that is on the leadership and the manager and all of it. It's poor, and any player who wants to play is going to leave as fast as they can. And then they're going to end up getting relegated. Maybe he'll keep them up for a year, but they're going to get relegated eventually. It's just too bad. They've got to get a real manager in there. Arsenal, I think the Mikel Arteta, he's going to go. Train has left the station. He is fine. They beat up on West Brom 4-0. Things have changed. It's pretty good, and now he can have. He's got players playing in good form. Lacazette's playing very well. He can work now. He's got enough of a cushion. He's got enough momentum. They're in 11th. They're not in a relegation fight anymore. Big Sam might want to write that one down. They're fine. I mean, they're 6 points out of Europe now. That's how fast it can turn. You do have to remember that when you talk about Chelsea, is that's how fast it can turn. But Mikel Arteta's just fine, and they will develop. I think they'll be fine. A couple comments from the Twitch pitch just to get caught up. Alex Pacine. Quote, just needed a bit. Quote, fair play to them. Quote, ran hard.
The flow chart for adding verbs and nouns for coach quotes.
Yeah, pretty much. Byrne says, when you're not competent enough to coach defensive transitions, then you have to have your team sit deep. Steve Bruce. Yeah, he's definitely not competent to coach much of anything. They are 8 points clear of the drop right now. And look, that's it. He said it. That's his only goal, is to keep them up. What do they have coming up? How hard is his job going to get? FA Cup, they go to Arsenal. Okay. Then they go to Sheffield United next game in the league. If they don't win that one, they got some serious problems. Then they go to Arsenal. They host Leeds. They go to Everton. They better beat Sheffield United because those next three, they might not get anything. That's not good. And then they host Palace. They host Southampton. They go to Chelsea. They go to Manchester United. They host Wolves. That takes you through the end of February.
I don't see a whole lot of points.
No, I don't either. It's not good. Oh, boy. Modiflow says, yeah, here South Wales is nice this time of year, though. Would you like to comment on that?
Hey.
Are you still negative?
Am I still negative?
About Swansea?
See.
Yes, that's the answer. Yes, you are still negative.
No.
You are.
No. I'm cautious. That's how I phrase it.
You went from negative to cautious. That's what you're trying to sell us.
Sure.
We're not buying.
All right. Fine.
Not buying it. That's from page 312 of the John Cliche book.
Sure. And you're assuming I have a rather large cliche book to begin with.
I am.
Okay. I thought that you would have thought that my cliche manual would have been rather small, and I just keep rolling the same ones out.
No, you get creative with them. It might be like 3 chapters, but they're pretty deep.
Okay, just checking. See now, I guess I'm underselling myself and my ability to roll out different cliches.
Of course,
think that's where I am.
Of course, you can recycle them and reuse them in different ways. You're good at that. Just like Big Sam is too. Another game gone by where we learn more about the players we have. We have learned an awful lot about what we can and cannot do. Some of the players who have not performed yet will get to play against Blackpool in the FA Cup. We need to work out a way of not trying to be as sloppy as we have been at conceding goals. 13 goals conceded, 1 point in Sam Allardyce's 4 games in charge. It's horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very bad. And now Big Sam is blaming Brexit for not being able to add players. It is complicated. The rules that came in January 1st can't sign players from European Union countries without a work permit, which changes that process in a big way. Foreign players under the age of 18 cannot be signed at all. Big Sam said, I have found 3 players already who were capable of coming here, and they're not allowed. It's a shame. Due to the new regulations in terms of the permit, they were unable to come to this country, whereas previously they would have done. I have to look at that and think, can he qualify? That has made life a bit more difficult. It's not so much the pandemic, it's the change of rules because of the Brexit deal. Creating excuses. It's a smart move. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
But I'd like to think that coaches and front offices would have anticipated Brexit going on the books, so you'd be prepared for moments like this.
Yeah, but I mean, you're West Brom and you're in a relegation battle now, and you have a new manager, and he wants to bring in some different pieces. So, I mean, you couldn't prepare for that. You know, like, you had to do this in the summer window, and I think maybe some deals got pushed through to get it done then. But, yeah, I mean, it's the reality. Like, it's a different process now. EU guys didn't have to get a work permit before. Now they do. And we've seen it with American guys going to England and getting work permits. It's not always easy.
And as of right now, Big Sam is number 2 on the board for getting sacked.
I thought Chris Wilder was.
That's changed.
Man, this thing keeps changing too much.
Yeah. Next top flight boss to be given the boot, Allardyce at 14-5. Wilder was at 6-5.
Interesting. We'll get into that. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves over the next couple of weeks. FA Cup, a little different. But after that, I still have to think Lampard would be the leader in that race.
Yeah.
Lampard's the leader. Allardyce. I mean, Allardyce is more likely than Wilder, in my opinion, to get fired. But I don't really see that coming either. Because, I mean, it's not like somebody else is going to come in and make West Brom better. They're not good. And, yeah, we crack on Big Sam, but, I mean, he's got a bad team that he's trying to rescue. There's only so much he can do. They're not good. Mm-hmm. So, you fire him, fine, then who are you going to go get who's going to make it better? I don't know if there is anybody. To be perfectly honest, I just don't know if there is anybody.
Yeah, no, that's bad.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Couple things in the EFL. They have not been doing regular COVID testing. I think we've kind of all forgotten about that a little bit. We'll talk about third kits here in just a minute after John tells us about our good friend over in Decatur. EFL starting COVID testing today. They have not been doing that. If you remember a couple times where you've had EFL Cup or FA Cup games where you had some testing before that. Oh, thanks for the update, computer. And things would happen. Tottenham paid for the tests for a club in the EFL. I think it was Leyton Orient, if I remember right, to make sure they could play them, and they had issues and ended up not playing them. EFL's beginning COVID testing today. It has not been regular before this. They've had a lot of games postponed lately before they started this testing. You're going to have a lot more games postponed right now, I think. And the FA Cup's this weekend. I think you're going to have a lot of FA Cup games postponed and or forfeited. Like, you can't really postpone FA Cup games.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do. It's going to be a mess. Keep an eye on that. It's going to be a huge mess. We haven't talked about Old Firm. Probably talk about that more tonight on Soccer Over There with Jarrett. But Neil Lennon blaming the referee, saying it was a game-changing red card. It was an accurate red card.
Yes, it was.
And red card happened, and then 8 minutes later, Rangers gets the goal. 19-point gap now. Rangers at the top of the Scottish Premiership. It's done. Lennon said they were the better team. Referee made the wrong decision and has changed the course of the game. This is where I laugh because he says he's got two sentences and they contradict one another. It's not a sending off, it's a foul. We had Ayer on the cover and Morelos is in a wide position. It's not a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity. He might get a shot off, but he's certainly not clean through on goal. I think he's too quick to get his red card out. Neil Lennon is not a lawyer, first off, because he just screwed up his case with his next sentence.
Yeah.
It's not, and this has come up before in different conversations we've had, it's not an obvious goal opportunity. It is an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. How do you have a goal-scoring opportunity? You shoot. So, if he can get a shot off and he is fouled and prevented from doing that, and it's a shot around the top of the 18, maybe inside the 18, that is an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Because what if the goalkeeper drops it? What if the goalkeeper can't get it? What if he hits the best shot of his life? That's the issue. You're not judging the quality of the chance. The referee is not making the decision based off the XG chart. It is about, is it an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, which means, is a shot coming? Yes. So then it's a red. Like, it's that simple. And he explained it. He thought he was trying to help himself. Neil, man, you need to stop, my friend. One other thing before we hop into MLS stuff. Jonathan Johnson of CBS Sports, this is something to keep an eye on in France. We've talked about the broadcast issues in Ligue 1. They don't have a broadcast partner right now, at least under any kind of a real contract. It's an absolute mess after Media Pro and their deal collapsed. There will be a meeting on Thursday between the UNFP and the Ligue 1 presidents to discuss wage cuts due to the financial situation in French football. They are discussing whatever the players are going to agree to do with the league because of the situation with broadcast revenues collapsing. So Ligue 1 is going to talk about pay cuts with their players. Real Madrid has reportedly agreed to a 10% pay cut with their players with the club. These are things to keep in mind as we get into the second half of the seasons in Europe, and the COVID situation doesn't look like it's getting any better, especially in England, and that's going to spread through Europe right now, and we will see if it affects things further as a few leagues, a few clubs have been able to get a few people in the buildings. That's starting to go away. So what happens next? You got teams and you got leagues that are starting to look at that and be a little more conservative and start to figure out ways to work together to keep the costs down. So we will see what that continues to look like. All right, you need to tell us about our good friend, Indicator GA, Steve Apolinski.
Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place that you need to have the discussion, and it is Apolinski and Associates, LLC. A couple different ways that you can have said discussion. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com. You can get a free consultation by picking up the phone, 404-377-9191, or you can go on the World Wide Web. Taskbar, you type in like this, aa-legal.com, although probably not as loudly.
I hope not.
Large device or small, the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances it to the homepage for Apolinski and Associates, LLC. A pop-up window pops up because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison, who is apparently styling and profiling with Soccer Down Here gear this morning.
Word.
You can get that at the Teespring page, by the way, but that's another promo.
Mm-hmm.
But, once again, over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama for wrongful death and serious injury matters. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. And I can say that because I'm not this morning in Alabama doing the show.
Good.
For wrongful death and serious injury matters, that is Apolinski and Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
I will agree with Sean Vergara. That was all over the place. That was madness.
Welcome to Manic Monday. It's a Manic Monday promo read.
I guess that's true. It would fit the theme. That would be true. Okay. Bunch of people are first tallying their reviews of your performance. Then a bunch of people have been asking about Atlanta United third kit rumors that are out there. We'll get into the fashion down here part of the show here in just a second. You got a 7.8, you got a 4.2, you got a 1 out of 10 for the rant in the middle. You got a -1 for the clickety-clackety, a -1 for speed, a -1 for off-script, 5 out of 10 total. 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10. You only got the 4 because of the sound effects. 5, 1, hated the typing. Domer says, John as the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. And Hutcho says, get a mechanical keyboard. Which is, yes, I agree.
Well, considering that I'm starting to lose the lettering, for those watching on the Twitch pitch, I'll show you. Here's the keyboard.
How old is that keyboard, John?
A couple of years.
Yeah, you probably need a new one.
Well, and considering that you're starting, when you rub off the letters,
yeah, it's not good.
And you can't quite figure out what letter you're typing, and you hope you're typing the right one, that's where we are with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the Twitch pitch got to see the Logitech wireless keyboard this morning.
No bueno. No bueno. John wants to know where the headset is for John. I'm barely getting him to use a mic in front of him, let alone anything else. It's baby steps, Sean.
Yes,
it's baby steps.
And we still have to install the Daniel Price 101 model here at Office HD.
Yes,
as well.
John still needs to figure out how to actually boot up a new computer.
Mm-hmm.
I know,
and save all the information off the old one. So
maybe by October he will be on that, and then maybe by next May he'll have a headset.
There you go.
Unk says 10 out of 10. New outlook. Unk
wow.
is feeling very good in the new year. That's good.
Thanks, Unk.
Yes. Okay, let's get into the third kit rumors. So it sounds like, and I think Pablo Maurer had hinted at this back at the beginning of 19. Adidas is, and the league, I guess, I don't know exactly who makes the decision or how it goes down. Teams that had third kits in the past, not everybody, but most, and then, actually, if I remember right, only a few teams had third kits. Then they tried to have them for everybody, and not everybody sells enough kits to have third kits for Adidas to make them, and they said, no, we're not going to do it for anybody. And now I think they've went back to the original idea, is some teams will have a third kit. If you can sell enough kits to be able to sell a third one, then make a third kit. It's money, period. If you can sell it, make it. If you can't sell it, don't make it. Simple. Easy. What's a club that people are going to buy everything they put out? It's Atlanta United. Seattle is another one. Portland is another one. Probably the Galaxy. Probably LAFC. Maybe Miami. Although I'm not 100% sure of that. You're not going to do it for Austin yet. You're not going to do it for Nashville yet. You're going to give them a little more time to get their primary over. I don't know if there's another one. Maybe Sporting. Sporting has done really good with third kits in the past. I don't know what the sales have looked like, but they've done them consistently, so maybe them. Beyond that, I don't know. Maybe New York City? They'd probably lobby for it pretty hard. I'm not sure. But there are rumors out there, and they're connecting a couple different things on the Atlanta United side of things. And Footy Headlines is a site that gets a bunch of leaks and stuff, and they put them out there. So, I mean, it's out there. Can't ignore it. There was a jacket and pants combo, a travel jacket and travel pants combo that popped up on, I think, one of the Adidas sale sites. And it's in a maroon, burgundy, wine-colored. I can't remember what the official term is for the color. But it's a dark red. It's like a vino tinto, like the Venezuela jersey. It's like that kind of dark color. That was the travel outfit. And then Footy Headlines came out, and there's no picture of what it would look like. It's basically the same idea. I think the color might be slightly tinted differently, of a third kit, and said Atlanta United would have one, and said it would be out in May, and said it would be in this color scheme. And it had the gold Atlanta United logo and Adidas branding. People have had takes. I like it. I think it's a good look. I think it looks cool. I'm a little surprised they didn't go more adventurous with it, if that's it. Because normally third kits are. Not always, though. I think sometimes people expect every third kit to be crazy, and it's not. I'd like to know how they pitch it, because usually the third kit has some kind of a theme, some kind of a story behind it. Immediately when I saw it, I thought to Venezuela and I thought to Joseph. And I was like, well, okay, it's like a kit to honor him. And we saw, didn't Wolves do a third kit that was very Mexico-esque for Raul Jimenez?
Yeah.
We've seen those things come up before, so I wonder if they will play off of that. I took it. Karen Hell says, "Is it Vino Tinto like for Joseph of Venezuela?" That was the first thing that came to mind when I saw it. And there's, I guess, on Adidas's website, there's a new training jersey that is available via link, and that is up now. Yeah. Adidas sometimes doesn't always get their links behind the walls like they should. Sometimes it does happen from time to time. It looks good. It's got the red and gold to it. It says it's burgundy, collegiate burgundy.
Okay.
All right.
And let me offer this as an alternate theory, and Ricky Ricardo is in on this as well. Ricky wondered how they will tie in maroon to Atlanta or Georgia. The only maroon I know of is Morehouse, but the leaked color looks like a cross between that and Morris Brown. Anyways, it's pretty cool that we got a third kit and take my money. So I would posit
you could play off of
that it could be because of the proximity of Morehouse to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It could be a nod to the HBCUs with Morehouse.
Yeah. Morris Brown doesn't fit into that, because I thought Morris Brown was more purple, right?
They're Wolverines in purple, yes.
Okay, I thought they were purple. And the only thing I would have against that would be, because I love the idea of it. It's great. Clark Atlanta might be a little ticked off.
True, yeah.
Spellman is a collegiate burgundy maroon kind of color, correct? Spellman got rid of their athletic programs not that long ago, but I believe Spellman was in the maroon and burgundy. I think they were kind of like the sister school to Morehouse in that regard. So, if I have no problem with telling that story and tying it into something like that. I immediately thought Venezuela, but if it goes that direction too, that's great. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, Spellman is in that maroonish category as well.
That's what I thought. Strummer John thought they were tied to blue.
That's what I remembered as well.
Really? Okay, I didn't remember
photos from Life After Sports, and Spellman has some maroon in their wardrobe.
Okay, I remembered the maroon. I'd love that if that's the story behind it, because generally there's something behind the third. A bunch of people saying Spellman's blue. I'd always seen it as maroon. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway. Usually there's something behind it, whether it's a sales pitch, whether it's a story behind it, whatever. And I'll be curious to see how that ties in for all the teams that do third kits. I think it's cool. I mean, is it going to be for like cup games? Is it going to be for certain times a year? Like, I don't know. And that'll be interesting to see how they play with that. So I guess people are waiting on now what that ends up looking like. The full kit, is it all like solid color? Is it, with a different color short with a different color sock? And what the new primary is going to look like, because there will be a new primary kit, a new striped kit. That could be really interesting. So now people are running wild in the Twitch pitch with crazy suggestions, Mataflow, and we'll see where it goes. I'm interested to see how this looks, and I wonder if it will be an all one solid color kit if they go down that road, or if they mix up the colors a little bit.
Couple of thoughts on the Twitter side of things. Michael Head says, no maroon, it's too close to the University of Alabama, and this is a direct quote. Boo! And then
I'm a Georgia guy, and I didn't even think about the Alabama thing because I don't really care.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then Dan Graham says, third kit thoughts, hell no to crimson as the color, # not how we roll.
You're going to get it no matter what color you pick. Colonel says it's soccer, doesn't need to tie to anything. Colonel, it's not about soccer, man. Don't be that guy. Wolves did a Mexico-themed kit for their striker, Raul Jimenez. Teams do a third kit that has some kind of a meaning often. Some just do something random as well. That happens. But many of them, there's some kind of a reason. So it's not a soccer thing, my friend. It's not an anti-soccer thing. It's just normally there's a sales pitch behind it. Because if you are a red and black team and you pick teal to do a third kit, people are going to say, why'd you do that? And you got to have a story behind it, right? You got to have something to sell it with.
Yeah.
So that's all I was asking. It's okay. Tranquilo. I don't think they're doing it to tie into Torino burned, but it does remind me of that. Venezuela is the one that I just immediately thought of, and obviously because of Joseph. So the HBCU thing's really cool too, and I wonder if you could play off of that and do something with it.
Like I said, that was the first thing that popped into my head was literally the HBCU with the proximity of campuses and things like that.
Yes. Yeah, that would make sense. A lot of people are posting stuff up with Spellman in a blue.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen that as well, but in doing quick searches for images and things, I saw folks wearing red Spellman stuff.
Yeah, I'd seen them. Maybe it was something old. Maybe they've changed. Maybe they changed. I don't know. Maybe I'm just insane, which is very possible at this point. I am hopped up on cold medicine. So there you go. Cassie asked how's Joseph's boss with the relationship with the current Venezuela boss these days. It's good. When they changed managers, it's all good. And he said he was going to play for Venezuela again, and it was all because of the previous manager. So no issues with that at all. Pacine says, if I have to lower myself and wear red and black together, then I don't care if it's garnet and gold, crimson, or anything else. I don't care. This is why I don't care that it's like Alabama or it's like this or it's like that. I don't care about any of that. Like, I didn't get excited about Atlanta United's color scheme because it's red and black because I went to Georgia. Like, I didn't care. It's a separate team.
Yeah.
Been whatever it wanted to be, and it would have been fine. It was obvious it was going to be in red and black because it's the colors of the Falcons. It was going to be the colors of the venue. It was the colors of everything that's there. So why would you do something different and make it more complicated? The gold added to it's a nice touch. I love it. It adds a different element to it. It looks great. So now you've got all kinds of different things to play with. I did see a quote, I think Footy Headlines had it, about a lot of people asking about gold. And I think in this case it was LAFC fans asking about a gold third kit. And I know that's come up here. I think it was somebody from Adidas or somebody who had worked in producing kits before. They said the gold just doesn't come across well on a jersey. And there's a lot of gold kits that we've seen that I don't like. I don't think it looks good. There's a few that have. It can look a little khaki-ish or sand-ish, and it doesn't really pop. I think you could do something that has more gold in it, but I don't know if the primary color of the kit could be gold. I don't know if it would work as well. Even if you did a kit that was gold and black stripes, I think that could be interesting, something like that. But I don't know if the primary color would be gold. And I know everybody's going to post pictures of nice-looking gold kits. I think the conversation was that it's very difficult to get it to work. And there's more misses than hits with a gold kit.
Yeah, there's the Aberdeen jersey that I have. Their third jersey is the gold with the black lettering with the sponsorship, and that to me was pretty sharp.
Yeah, I did really like that. That looked better than I expected it to when I heard about it. Man, people are really into this. So it's so fun.
Fashion down here on a Monday.
Jason Nick says Nashville is not gold either, and that would be true. It is not. Mm-hmm. It is very bright yellow, but they say it's gold. It's not gold. It's yellow, and it looks good. I like the very bright yellow. I like the all yellow. It's a good look, but it's not gold. They are the boys in gold, but they don't wear gold. Whatever works. Sorry, Nashville fans, don't get too mad. And I know Atlanta United or Atlanta Falcons at the beginning. I think Strummer John posted a link to this at the very, very beginning. And coming from a football perspective, with Georgia and Georgia Tech being such a big deal in 1965, 1966, made sense to have red, black, and gold as your colors. Now, they got away from the gold pretty quick in the Falcons color scheme, and they went silver with it. I think they dropped the gold after like a year or two.
Yeah.
And then it was just red and black with white, and then they added the silver pants, early 80s?
I think so.
Maybe
yeah.
maybe like 1980. I don't think it was in the 70s. I think they did the white pants in the 70s. Because I grew up remembering the Falcons in the red jerseys, silver pants. I mean, it looked like Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Tech fans did not like that. I was a kid. I liked it. I like what the Falcons have done with their new stuff, and I hope that what Atlanta United does with their new stuff looks as good as what the Falcons have done. Obviously, Adidas, Nike, differences there, different interpretations, but I've been happy with it. So let's see what happens with this stuff. I'm interested in the maroon, though. I'm intrigued. I did not expect that. When I saw something about a third kit, I immediately thought gold. I immediately thought something completely off the board. I did not think maroon. I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea. The maroon and gold kind of works pretty well.
The Falcons had gold stripes on their helmets from 66 to 69.
Oh, it went longer than I thought.
But they were very, very thin.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very thin stripes.
Sorry, Tech.
And then they brought the red helmet with the blackbird with the white trim, 71 to 77. I like that. I like that old kit. Their old jersey. And then the Falcons, the silver breeches were 78 to 83. The Bartkowski.
Oh, okay. It went a little bit earlier than I thought it did.
Yeah. So, you had the big old red. But, 78 to 83 was the silver breeches. And then they went back to the white with the silver breeches combination, 84 to 89. Then the black with the silver breeches, 90 to 96 with Jerry Glanville and all that stuff. The black jersey and the silver pants with the black, red, and white stripe down the side.
I liked the Falcons combination yesterday, the white with the black, a lot. Better than the all white, better than the all black. The gradient jersey's fine. I don't love it. I'd probably be happier if it was just red instead of the gradient. But that with the black pants looks good. I don't like the solid color uniforms as much. I like the breakup of it, and it's the same for soccer. Like, there's a few teams who wear the solid white, and I mean Real Madrid. There's others who are known for wearing it. I'd like to see more teams in MLS. If you go with a white kit, and I understand it, I do think they sell well. I think that's one reason why Adidas does them so commonly. It is simple, but break it up with black shorts from time to time. I'd like to see more mix and match at times with that. White kit with black shorts and black socks, or at least have the possibility. That was one thing, and I know people did not necessarily like the... did we officially term it as concrete and strawberry? Was that how it was officially referred to, the away kit the first year in 2017?
Because I thought that we had cherry pie in there. It's like concrete and cherry pie, concrete and strawberry, something like that.
It's not cherry. It's a lighter red. It'd have to be strawberry.
Okay.
Because I liked how they had the strawberry shorts with it.
Yeah.
But when there was a conflict with the other team, they would wear the white shorts with that.
Yes.
And I liked that a lot, more than I would have ever guessed that I would. And that was what I wish they had worn more that first year. I really liked it. So
yeah.
I like when they break it up a little bit or do something different or have a variety like that. Like the Falcons yesterday. Instead of going the all white, they went with the black pants instead. Add a little more like that. That can be a little fun. Just saying.
Tofka's in and he says, I love kits, but one of the following has to happen with this third kit for me to buy it. 1, it is simply awesome looking, or 2, they use it as primary for non-MLS competitions and win one of those competitions. Saving money. Kits are expensive.
Kits are expensive. Yes, this is true. Uncle No Pocket says the King Peach reigns supreme for the away kit, the secondary kit. It's funny. Like when I first saw it at the unveiling, I loved it. I liked it. I loved the branding around it. I loved the idea of it. Then I didn't like it for a while. I didn't like the numbers on it. Being a commentator was kind of hard.
Oh.
It's not that big of a problem. Like especially with the team that I'm calling consistently, like I start to recognize guys by their hair or by the way they run or their position or whatever. I didn't like the numbers on it. I wish they'd had something a little darker on the numbers. But by the end of its run, I loved that kit. I would have loved to have seen a peach-colored short to go with it. That would have been awesome. Or even a peach-colored sock to go with it, white, and the peach socks. I like that look when teams will go with that too. I would have loved something like that, a little addition, just a little tweak to it. That would have been cool. But yeah, I really ended up loving that kit, not going to lie.
And then Lewis Martin says, they look like the Mississippi State gold and maroon, but I really don't care. I'll buy it.
I didn't think Mississippi State, but yeah, they did do some gold and maroon stuff, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Oh, well, because of Egg Bowl, they wanted to come out with the a different outfit for that look.
Abby says at least you could read the numbers, more so the white with the gold. I don't know which one's easier, to be perfectly honest. They're both pretty tough. The gold, what makes the gold hard is at night under lights at times. It all kind of blends in. During the day, I think the gold might actually be a little bit easier to see. So it just depends. It depends on the setting. I love both of them as like just shirts. Like I love them as shirts to wear. I think they look really good. As uniforms where you're trying to read the numbers, maybe we can do something with the numbers, please. Just an outline, please. Give me a little help here, please. Byrne says, and I kind of like this idea for a third kit, because a lot of times you will see teams do something to honor some element of their history or something else. Again, it's just common. Byrne said, I think Atlanta United should go full Newell's at one point, a half red, half black, to show we are truly Newell's North. You couldn't do the primary with that because of the stripe concept, but yeah, if they did a third kit in that, I'd love it. That'd be cool. I love that look. I think it looks great for Newell's Old Boys. Speaking of which, they played yesterday, and there were two Atlanta United connections in the building. Tata Martino was there watching the match. He's probably at home for the holidays in Rosario. And Gabriel Heinze was there watching the match. And he spent New Year's with his friends. Ignacio Scocco plays for Newell's. And Maxi Rodriguez, who just celebrated his 40th birthday and is still scoring goals for Newell's. It's amazing. He's still very, very good for them. Just celebrated his 40th birthday, too. So Gabriel was taken in the match yesterday, and he was talking to Scocco during the match. There was a picture of that. We're going to, right before training camp opens, a couple weeks, we're going to talk to the great Newell's English Twitter account. We're going to do a podcast with them to talk about Gabriel Heinze's time at Newell's. Because I think a lot of times here, we zero in on his time at Manchester United or his time at Real Madrid or his time with Argentina. And he started at Newell's and then he finished at Newell's for a stretch, and he won the league there with Tata Martino. He played in the Copa Libertadores. It's kind of an interesting, angle of his career that doesn't get talked about very much. So we're going to dig into that a little bit before training camp opening. So be on the lookout for that in a couple weeks.
A couple of other thoughts on the Twitters this morning. Ricky Ricardo linking to a full screen from our friends at CBS Sports from yesterday. We talked about Manchester City. Zach Steffen is the first non-bald American keeper to play in the Premier League since 2002.
Who was the last non-bald American keeper to play in the Premier League?
I believe it was someone named Brad Kazan.
He was not bald when he first got there?
I think he was
I think
bald.
You're right. No, then... Okay, John. You said the last non-bald.
Yeah.
So you just said Brad was bald when he got there. I'm confused.
No. It's just that I'm looking at the photo of Friedel, Keller, and Gazan, and they're all bald. Well, look, blame the CBS Sports for this. And they're showing
Brad
the three of
did
them
have
all bald.
hair at one point.
Yeah. And then they have Zach Steffen with his full head of hair. So that was...
So you don't have an answer for my question. You're just trying to filibuster.
Because I'm looking at a photo.
People do lose their hair over time, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those individuals.
No, you still have hair, though. Mine would look a whole lot worse than yours if I didn't shave my head. it does happen where they have hair when they get there and then they cut their hair. That's what I was asking.
Oh, well, I don't know when Brad was cutting his hair in the Premier League.
Okay, so you don't have an answer to my question.
No, I don't.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. So whoever can find who was the last non-bald goalkeeper in the Premier League who was American, let us know. Lots of comments on people coming up with color combinations and suggestions for third kits. I've seen a sweet tea combination, which I have to see on how that would really look. I guess an Arnold Palmer combination because you went sweet tea. So how would that look?
Wouldn't that
a
work
peach
down
brown
in Florida?
gradient. What?
Since Arnold Palmer's lived in Central Florida or maybe Pennsylvania, you do an Arnold Palmer kit for those two clubs?
Sure. It must have been Brad because he did have hair at Villa. There is a picture and there is proof of that. I thought he did because I just couldn't remember when he started shaving his head.
Let's see. Dan Graham says that Chelsea needs Mickey. Get him away from Newcastle.
I don't know if Chelsea's the right place for him. Huh. Leeds needs Mickey.
Yeah. Woo.
He would actually be perfect for that kind of play. He really would. Hey, Marcelo Bielsa and crew, Victor Orta, go talk to Newcastle. Go get Miguel Almiron. He'd be a perfect fit for that.
Yeah.
Go get him, Portugal.
Yeah. The discussion about Joseph, Tafka's in this morning, and he says that Joseph was all about getting in behind under Tata. Under Frank, it was 100% combined with team to score goals. Substantial percentage of goals were facing the defense. A balance needs to be struck because the difference in the type of goals scored is obvious. Let him do both, please.
He wasn't prevented from doing both under Frank de Boer. I know that there's this idea that Frank, put the reins on everybody. No, he did that too under Frank. He did both under Frank. Tata Martino didn't have him involved in the build-up. Frank did. You want him to do both, and I think that would be the idea here. It's going to be interesting to watch that because that is the one missing element from Heinze's teams at Vélez is a top striker, and he's got one. And I want to see how that factors into the way he plays. I think with so much of the chances at Vélez coming from wide positions, that's really going to play well for Joseph. And he will be involved in areas of the build-up when the team is building up play. That's not going to go away. But once the ball gets out wide and it comes in, that's where I think we'll see Joseph really, really thrive. And that's going to be exciting to see.
The Ceviche Overlord is in this morning.
Hola, Ceviche Overlord.
I know it's late news, but Luis Fernando from Atlanta United 2 was transferred to Tampa last week. I was wondering what kind of player is he and what to expect from him.
I didn't see that. That's really cool. Luis Fernando was let go from Atlanta United. Was waiting to see where he would land, and he ends up at Tampa Bay. Okay. Really good 1v1 player. During his time in Atlanta, we saw him kind of evolve where he wasn't just an attacking player like he was at Richmond and like he was maybe at the beginning of his time with the Twos. He played as a wingback, played as a wide midfielder, can play as a 10. I think he's best as like a second forward or a 10 because I like his creativity. He's a good passer. He's really technical, really good on the ball, really good in the 1v1s. I don't think he produces enough up top to be a number 9. I like him better behind the number 9, where he's involved, he can get forward, he can score goals, but he's more involved in creating for others. That's where I think he's best. But as we saw, and we talked about a little bit with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer putting Paul Pogba out wide to free him up, which is not a position you normally associate with Pogba, but it freed him up. He could come inside, he could find the ball, he'd get the ball in space. It's what Aston Villa does with Jack Grealish, too. He's in a wide role, but he can go wherever he wants. If you play a system like that, and Neil Collins kind of does with Tampa Bay, Luis Fernando could be a really good fit there. And they've got good attacking talent, so, I mean, he's going to have good guys to play with. That's a good signing. That's a really good signing. He's a very good USL Championship player. I don't think he's an MLS-level player regularly. USL Championship, he can be a star.
Ricky Ricardo helping us out, saying that the signing happened back on the 30th. So they ended their year with that.
Things got a little hectic towards the end of the year.
Yep. Dan Graham with Fashion down here says Rankin Smith ran out of gold.
Well, he did. That's true. Ran out of gold a little bit later than he took the gold out of the uniform color combinations. But yes, he was struggling a bit. Just glad the team didn't move because there were rumors of that at one point. Yes.
And Rich Ransom is in hour number 2, and he has New Year's resolutions and a point of order for the bald keepers that we talked about.
Okay.
Rich Ransom's New Year's resolutions for his teams, Union, Roma, and Manchester United, just win, baby, and a return of a Union/Bethlehem Steel third kit.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good. I liked that. Yes.
For Rich himself, save money with an exclamation point in all caps.
Don't we all?
So he can come to Atlanta for the Union versus Atlanta United this season and buy a round for soccer over there at the place with the 3,000 televisions.
Oh, there you go. We can go to the brew house and have a round of drinks. Yes, so hopefully that game will be later in the season when we can all hang out and it's acceptable and when we've gotten a vaccine because that's what I want. Man, hopefully. Yeah. There's some weird things going. Okay, yeah, now that, people had me confused for a second. There's a rumor, and it looks like it's going to come true because Alex Fejar has reported it, and man, MLS Digital people were making me confused. Pablo Masterini is going to join RSL's coaching staff. People saw Pablo Masterini's name and started freaking out. He's going to join them as an assistant. He was an assistant. Where had he been an assistant recently? And there was a lot of good reviews for him there. I want to say it might have been with the national team. Might have been with one of the youth national teams. I might be wrong. It's either that or it was with Houston with a Tab. I think that might have happened. Masterini, I mean, as a manager, they were just too defensive. I mean, the Rapids under him were just too defensive. He did get them to a Western Conference final, though. Let's not forget that. They were very defensive. If he's an assistant and he is working with the defensive side of the team, pretty good position to be in. Pretty good position for sure. That's a good upgrade for Freddie Juarez, who maybe realized, I need a little bit of help on this side of the ball. Let's get some help. Let's get a guy who had a good team that played defensively and was also a very good defensive midfielder and defender. Makes a lot of sense. I think it's a good hire.
Yeah. And let's see, the one thing that Rich Ransom also brought in about the non-bald keepers real quick.
Yes, thank you.
Tim Howard at Manchester United was non-bald.
That would have been... Yeah, that would have been after 2002. So CBS Sports just completely messed this whole thing up. They just completely messed it up. Because, yeah, he went to Manchester United. He was there with hair in 2003, I believe, and maybe even 2004 before he started shaving his head. Yeah, they messed the whole thing up. Come on now, CBS Sports.
Yeah.
Our goalkeepers are not all bald all the time.
Yeah. Like, come on, man.
What else we got on Twitter?
Really quickly, shuffling back and forth here. Kefsi is in and gives a tip of the hat to Patrick Sullivan, where Patrick Sullivan was talking about the maroon third kit. Maroon or claret, Patrick says. Maroon or claret was also the jersey color of Atlanta's first soccer club, which began play in 1908, disbanded during World War I, reformed in the early 1920s, and he has a link to the Atlanta Journal from February of 1922.
Yeah, it's something that Patrick and I will probably dig a little bit deeper into if it is the official thing here, because it's a little complicated with how things went at that time, because you had essentially like a group of people who were trying to create a league, and you had one before World War I and you had one after. And you had some other teams that evolved. I'm not 100% clear that the Atlanta Soccer Club team before World War I is the same as after exactly. If there's a direct line there, I think it's almost two separate things. But I do remember one of them specifically because the AJC reported on it that they wore maroon. And they had like an old school, old English kind of A, I think, on it somewhere, maybe. So if that's the way it goes, we'll dig into that and tell that story and have more total content on it. But yeah, I forgot about that. That's a good pull from Patrick. But we'll flesh that out if that's the direction it goes.
And just something to keep an eye on this afternoon. The British Prime Minister is addressing the nation at 8 o'clock tonight. Robert Peston at ITV is saying that Parliament to be recalled on Wednesday and a tough national lockdown to be announced.
Yeah, that new strain has got everybody worried because it's spreading faster. Did see some reports about I think initial concerns that it was more virulent, like stronger, and people would get sicker. That's not coming to bear yet. Nobody's found any information to show that yet, but it's spreading faster, which means it's putting more strain on the healthcare system because it moves faster. So way more contagious. It is in this country as well. It's been picked up a few different places. Our testing system maybe isn't the best, and don't know how much it's actually spread. But considering you've had people come back and forth from the UK, it's kind of a no-brainer that it would be in this country. So got to be careful, got to be more careful. It's more of a problem in the UK, and they're looking like they're going to deal with it. Man, I hate to say at least it's happening now because the vaccines are being actually put in arms now, but it will be an issue for a shorter period of time. If this had been the case early on, or if this had developed late last summer, yeah, it'd be much more of a problem. Yeah, Uncle, if we only took this whole pandemic thing a little more seriously, would have helped a little bit. So keep an eye on that across the board. But yeah, that could affect the Premier League. That could affect the EFL. That could affect the FA Women's Super League. That could affect a lot of things. And then all the knock-on effects that could affect Champions League and Europa League and what that looks like. I don't know too much about the spread of this particular strain across Europe yet, but I know in the UK it is a very big issue.
And that catches us up on Twitter.
All right, a couple other things that I had on the board this morning, and if you guys have any final questions, tweet them at us at Soccer Down Here. Share them in the Twitch pitch as well. Let us know what is on your mind this morning. We still have not heard from our MLS Bracket Challenge champion, Mark, also known as Fafa Daddy, on the board. Won the bracket challenge. I want to get you your prize. If you are listening, Fafa Daddy or Mark, please let us know so we can get you your prize. Columbus looks like they're bringing Waylon Francis back. He was out of contract. No big surprise. Good backup for Valenzuela at left back. Looks like they're potentially going to sell Chris Caden to Scottish club Hibernian. Didn't really play. Harrison Offal was really good for them last year. He had been on loan at Oxford United before that. It looks like Hibs has got a deal informally agreed to, and they're trying to get that done and completed this week. Mentioned Dallas and Bayern. Dallas has sent players over to train at Bayern for a while now. This is not a new development, obviously, with players who have ended up going there, but Ricardo Pepe's went over to train. So many of their top young players, whether they're still in the academy, whether they're North Texas SC guys, whether they're guys on the first-team roster. Chris Richards was one who made the deal. He went over, impressed, got a deal, didn't ever sign for FC Dallas. Tanner Tessman is going to be one of maybe multiple players who go over and train during the MLS offseason. ESPN broke that news yesterday. Third Degree is a really good site to follow out of Dallas. It's not shocking that Tanner Tessman's going over there. And I think people then immediately started going down the road of, oh, well, they're going to sign him right now. And I was like, no, probably not. But he will go to Europe, I think. I think Tanner Tessman's an incredible talent. Dallas does have a partnership with Bayern, yes. And this is part of that partnership where they send young players over to train. And obviously they're training, and if they impress, then, yeah, something could happen. So, no shock. Tessman's got all the tools, in my opinion. If he doesn't go now, and I don't think he will, he needs to be a regular starter for FC Dallas in 2021. He's an incredibly talented player.
Tafka is in and asking with Atlanta United and the partnership with Aberdeen. He goes, that's cool, but different. Should they look into trying to create an FC Dallas Bayern relationship with a top tier club for the sake of its academy prospects? He sees pros and cons, but what do you think?
I don't think there's any cons. The pros are just different training environments. And, Aberdeen's a different situation because Atlanta United is invested in Aberdeen, or AMBSE is invested in Aberdeen. Players going over to train at Aberdeen, it's a good thing, and we've seen that. We've seen academy players go over and train, and it's helpful for development. Could you create other partnerships? Absolutely. Absolutely. Efrain Morales went to Manchester United to train. They spotted him. They invited him. Club was cool with it. Tony Annan went with him, and it was a good relationship, a good environment. Could you see more of that with other clubs? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's good for the young players to get that opportunity. For first-team players, it depends a little bit. Dallas is generally sending guys who are very young over there, where they'd be essentially like an academy or a second-team player. Tessman didn't play a ton this year. I thought he should have played more, to be perfectly honest. But it's good. In the right situation, it's good. But every situation for every kid is different. Some kids aren't ready for that situation. Some are. Some kids need it. Some don't. So it just depends. I like the idea of being able to send them wherever you need to send them. I'd love to see Atlanta United send guys to train in South America. I'd love to see them send guys to Newell's or to Velez or, wherever you have a relationship that makes sense to train and get that environment for guys who need that. So I like the idea that it's open, but I'd love to see more young players get an opportunity to go train elsewhere.
Yeah, and from the USL perspective, remember the Charleston Battery have their relationship with Hibs as well, and we've already seen players work their way. I think Leland Archer and Robbie Crawford, after the USL Championship season, worked their way over to Hibs to continue their growth as well. So we're seeing all of these relationships continue to add to what we're seeing already.
Yeah, Byrne says it works for Bayern because they get early looks at young players, helps Dallas recruit academy kids so they can offer that. 100%. That's why Dallas was pulling guys from the Birmingham, Alabama area. Richards. Who am I forgetting? Who's a Birmingham kid for Dallas, or a Hoover, Alabama kid. There's a bunch of them. They sent a bunch over there, and the Bayern partnership's a big part of it. Burns says Tessman would never make Bayern's first team. He's a good player, but not at Bayern's midfield levels. Not as a starter, for sure. Not anytime soon. But he could go there, and then Bayern could probably send him elsewhere if they wanted to.
Cervania.
Yeah, I think there's even more than that. Cervania's right, because his brother plays for Birmingham Legion. Brendan Aronson arrived at Red Bull Salzburg. Jesse Marsh picked him up from the airport. Very nice. Showed him the training grounds, the stadium. Aronson said, I'm extremely excited to play under him. You only have to look at some of the players that he helped shape recently, and he will wear the number 11 for Red Bull Salzburg. Cervania and Tessman. Tessman's a Birmingham kid. I was thinking there was one more. Maybe I'm just mixing it up because of Tessman. Monteflo, thank you. Silly season stuff. Players and teams to keep an eye on the rest of the day and month, possibly. Moise Kean. Sky Sports is reporting that PSG want to make it a permanent deal. He's on loan from Everton right now. £31 million is what it's sounding like. Everton seems to be willing to consider making it permanent. They just want to recoup what they paid Juventus for him last August, August 2019, £27 million. You get $31 million? Go for it. I still have no idea why it didn't work for him at Everton. He's an incredible talent. He's done really well at PSG. I don't know. I don't get it. Mixed reports out of Liverpool and mixed reports on Sven Botman, who Fabrizio Romano said Liverpool have not opened official talks with Lille to sign him. He's a Dutch center back. He's been scouted. They like him. They consider him a talent. There's nothing advanced at the moment. Liverpool has been fairly clear in saying they don't want to buy in January. Jurgen Klopp said, or at least implied, that they might not have the money to spend right now, and they might need to really keep the financials tight at the moment, so they might not spend because of that. Botman as a name has come up multiple times. There will be others. We'll have to see. The Matip injury, if he's back before the end of the month, maybe that helps them survive and not have to go spend. A little guy from Barcelona, Lionel Messi. He is able to sign a pre-contract now. He said he will not. He said he'd wait for the presidential election to take place on January 24th. Ferran Soriano, the CEO of Manchester City, was asked about Lionel Messi joining the club. He said, Messi has earned the right to decide whatever he wants. From now on, he has no difficulty leaving Barca, as he is free and can decide where he wants. We will remain attentive to the situation. Pretty clear they would like to have Lionel Messi, so you keep an eye on that one. Some questions about Lacazette at Arsenal, because, one, he's in really good form right now, and Arsenal have decided to delay contract talks until the summer with him. That would put him going into the last year of his contract. They've done this before with guys. And, look, it's a different situation now because of the pandemic, but are they just rolling the dice again about leaving a deal to the last? Or are they potentially going to sell him in the summer, which is where my head went immediately. I thought maybe they're not doing a new deal with him now because they're going to sell him in the summer. We'll see. But it looks like he's not going to get a new deal at the moment, at least in this window. Jadon Sancho's name has come up again, and this came from some comments over the weekend from Borussia Dortmund's CEO. Fabrizio Romano talks about it as well. Hans-Joachim Watzke, the CEO at Borussia Dortmund, said on Sancho, subconsciously, Jadon might have had prepared for a change. I think he had at least thought so much about it that he lost his ease. But I found him trying very hard for weeks. And Romano followed up on those comments and said that Sancho was ready for that transfer to Manchester United this summer. The personal terms were agreed. Now, Romano also makes it very, very clear that he is not moving in January. The race will be on again in the summer, and Manchester United are expected to go back to try to get him again. Dele Alli, according to French media, Mauricio Pochettino wants to bring Dele Alli to Paris. Obviously played for him at Tottenham. They had a good relationship. Dele Alli is not in favor with Jose Mourinho, reportedly looking to find a way out of Tottenham to get back to playing. PSG, they can get the deal done. There are some reports that they have to sell first in January, some of their extra players, before they can sign players. So maybe they've got a couple of moves to do first, but that would not be a surprise to see Dele Alli work his way into PSG. That would not be a shock at all. A couple of clubs to keep an eye on for multiple reasons. Real Madrid, Sergio Ramos, they have not spoken about a contract renewal according to Tiempo de Juego. Most people expect him to sign a new deal with Real Madrid, but they have not talked about a new deal. And the longer they don't talk about a new deal, or they talk and they don't agree on anything, it gets weird. Diario Gol reports that Ramos has received offers because he can sign a pre-contract. He's in that Messi situation. He's in the last 6 months of his deal. Diario Gol reports that he's received offers from PSG and from Manchester United. PSG, substantial wage increase. They look at him to be able to be a solid option on that back line for the next 2 years, especially with Champions League being the focus for PSG. Manchester United's looking for somebody to pair up with Harry Maguire. I was a little surprised Manchester United's name came up into this. And the other reason why you might not see them really talking to Sergio Ramos about a new deal is there are a lot of reports this morning saying that Real Madrid has won the race for David Alaba. And he is in the same situation. He can sign a pre-contract. He can leave in the summer on a free. He would not leave now. Bayern has made it clear they're not going to sell him now. But it sounds like Real Madrid can meet the salary demands that Alaba has, and that he would sign that pre-contract anytime now. So, if you're going to add him, you're probably not going to keep Sergio Ramos. And it's a little surprising. Ramos is about as legendary as it gets at Real Madrid. I'm a little surprised at the way this has been handled, and I wonder if we'll hear more. I mentioned Manchester United. On the Ramos side of things, now they're reportedly in control of a couple of deals. They haven't finished them yet, and Modaflow updated it as well. Moises Caicedo from Independiente del Valle and Max Aarons of Norwich. IDV reportedly, and this is from El Diario in Ecuador, who had an interview with Caicedo, the club, Independiente del Valle, is not agreed on the transfer, and it sounds like they want more than he was previously valued at. El Diario says that the price they've put on him is 10 million euro. Last price tag was around 6 million euro. And El Diario's latest claims on this say that maybe IDV realizes with other clubs, Chelsea's name has come up, others have been mentioned, that they can get more money. But most reports say that Manchester United's in control of that deal. So we'll see. Aaron's name has come up a good bit, and we'll see if that one gets done as well.
You mentioned Aaron's. A lot of folks are looking at Norwich right now to possibly bring players in. Norwich right now at the top of the championship, 4 points clear. Aaron's, you mentioned him with Manchester United. Emi Buendia is being looked at by Arsenal. And
didn't Farkas say that he did not want to sell Buendia?
Right.
Okay.
They don't. Yeah. Right now, Norwich doesn't want to sell Aaron's, Buendia, or Todd Cantwell. And right now, they've put a £54 million price tag on Buendia, and Arsenal is looking at that. But it could be some combination of cash and a couple of players, either as a trade or a loan, to help Norwich stay on top and get promotion. Fulham and Leeds apparently are looking at Cantwell. Cantwell's price tag at the moment is $30 million, so it looks like Norwich is kind of pricing players in those go-away numbers, so they can, keep everybody there, because they would be getting £170 million if they're promoted, which would be about twice what they would be getting if they got rid of three of their key cogs that have got them at the top of the championship.
Interesting. Burned with a good point. Dele Alli and Neymar in the same club could be very, 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 very interesting. They'll both be injured every year for Carnival. Mataflo agrees that Caicedo is worth 10 million. I totally agree as well. I mean, he is really developed fast, and IDV should make sure they get everything they can for him. Mataflo says the only thing that could really screw that up in terms of trying to bring others into the mix is that Moises Caicedo has said he's a big Antonio Valencia fan, and his dream is to play for Manchester United. So maybe if he pushes the Manchester United one, it could be a bit of a game where Independiente del Valle is trying to get more money out of Manchester United, and that's where he'll end up. If the player really wants to go there, that's probably what will happen. But you want to get as much as you can out of the deal, for sure. Right now, as it stands, Miguel Delaney of The Independent reports that elite football would continue in the UK, even if there is a stronger lockdown that is put into place. So keep that in mind. It looks like that will still continue and it won't affect it. We'll see. Interesting news out of the third division in Portugal. Edgar Davids is managing now at a club, Olhanense, third division in Portugal. Did not have that one down on the list.
No.
I wonder what the connection is there. Edgar Davids. I believe this is his first managerial job. And it's in the third division in Portugal. Very, very, very interesting. He came over and played in a Soccer in the Streets event. He was going to come over years before that. We had a deal set up because he had a street soccer brand that got American distribution, and we were going to bring him to College Park for a street cup, and it was at the time that the volcano erupted in Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
And affected travel from back and forth across the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't come. It was the craziest thing. And then it just took a while to figure out the right time to have him. And he spent a lot of time in Atlanta, actually. I think he had a townhouse in Atlanta at one point. I don't know if he still does. But he played in the ATL Champions League and was very cool talking to everybody and signing autographs and very, very cool. Anything else that you have seen on the rumor front at the moment?
Yeah. You know how we like talking about Big Sam?
Oh, what is Big Sam up to now?
Big Sam is prioritizing a defender, but he's looking at Cenk Tosun. Roy Hodgson, apparently at Crystal Palace, is kind of sloughing off any kind of rumors when it comes to a Wilfred Zaha transfer. And it looks like Steve Bruce is looking at the loan market for Newcastle when it comes to bringing in players, not looking to spend any money.
Okay.
On the whole.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see clubs that are going to try to do loans, let guys go on loan to try to reduce payroll. Like, there's going to be a lot of those situations. It's especially that last week of the window. It's going to get weird. Burns says there's lockdowns in both Germany and Austria until early February, late January. Pro football continuing in both. No discussion about soccer's privilege, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if these leagues and teams could really survive any extended lockdown. Maybe a couple weeks. I don't know, but I do worry about the EFL now. I worry about some of the lower division stuff. It's going to get tricky, and we'll see if they can continue, and we'll see if they can handle just the spread, if they can get games in. I mean, there's just some of the simple logistics of that. It's just dealing with the players not contracting the virus in the community. I mean, it's just that difficult in some cases. So we'll see. Also, the players have to not be stupid, and there have been some players who have done stupid things, and that's happened too. And there's just no way you can risk that right now. Not if you want to be able to play, and not if you don't want to hurt your team. Tonight on Soccer Over There, we'll get deeper into some of the other leagues in Europe. We'll get into a win for Barcelona. It wasn't necessarily all that pretty, but we'll get into that. We'll get into Luis Suarez being awesome at Atletico Madrid. We'll get into the Bundesliga. We'll get into Antonio Conte really not liking Arturo Vidal these days. Man, talking mad trash about Arturo Vidal. Crazy. It's like his own player, and he's just going nuts about him. We'll talk about the Super Clasico in Argentina as well. We'll talk about Copa Libertadores this week with Boca and River both playing Palmeiras and Santos. Those games will be on BN Sports. You can get that on Fnatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. I know a good number of you guys watched the Super Clasico. It was a very entertaining match. I didn't get a chance to watch all of it live. Love that everybody was using the Discord and talking about that match as it was going on. You had a lot of back and forth in that one. Boca got the early goal against the run of play. I thought River was the better team. Stupid second yellow and a red card. River then scores 2 goals, and then Boca finds one at the end. Carlos Tevez, that guy will drag Boca through everything to get results. And, I mean, he said it. Like, the post-game stuff, I don't think they're talking to many players in post-game situations in Argentina. Like, they're catching them in their car as they're leaving. Like, the players literally sitting in their car, and they hold
like the transfer window stuff when you're seeing the manager come in.
And that's how they're doing post-game media for players in Argentina, pretty much. So it's crazy. Tevez said, like, they're really hard to beat. And yeah, I mean, they've got a lot that they are playing for right now. You know, the emotion of trying to win the Libertadores for Maradona. I mean, that is there. That is real with these guys. Trying to win the Copa Diego Armando Maradona. I mean, there's probably no club that would want that trophy with that name on it, because it's going to be the only time that name is on that trophy. They want it more than anything else. They want that trophy. So, I mean, they're still in the running for that. The last match day in the second phase of this tournament, because it's like a miniature league. The last match day is going to get really weird because you've got Boca and River level on points. Boca has a slightly better goal differential. It's like 1 goal better, and it could go down. I mean, the tie break, if everything stays level, and it could really end up everything is level. The tie break is drawing lots. I mean, can you imagine if in this tournament it comes down to Boca and River drawing lots to see who goes through? Oof. Man, draw them out and have a penalty shootout or something. Like, don't do it that way. Come on, figure something else out. I mean, bring them out on at noon one day to do the penalty shootout. I don't care. It'll get ridiculous. So we'll get into all of that tonight. Soccer Over There. We'll update all the silly season stuff. We'll update all of the news today, and we'll keep you posted on everything that changes. Thanks for hanging out with us. My voice did hold up mostly. I'm feeling it now, so I think I'm going to relax the rest of the day.
Gardens is helping you out. Got
It
you
did.
through.
It was good. The Red Bull helped as well, gave me some energy. So back to the sinus medicine now, and we'll be back for soccer over there. I just might be a little less talkative this evening. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Thanks for all the interaction, especially on the 537 different varieties of third kits that people wanted to see, which was very, very good. Y'all have a good rest of the day. If you are one of our subscribers on Patreon or on Twitch and you have not gotten your invite to the Discord, please give me a heads up so I can rectify that. It's not quite as automatic as it's supposed to be, I'm finding. So please let me know so we can get you taken care of. Thanks to everybody keeping the Discord going. It's been very cool to see when I check in, and y'all are having all kinds of conversations about all kinds of things. So thanks to everybody who's been part of this. We'll be back later today for soccer over there. Mucha platio.
Mucha platio.